Hi, and thanks for tuning in to our live radio show. Moments of Clarity with Tiffany will begin in just a few moments. Please stay tuned. Kindly take this opportunity to share this show on your platforms because change can only come when we stand together as one, especially when it comes to ending the stigma on mental health.
You are not alone, and help is out there.
Kids have mental health issues, and we also need to learn coping skills.
Let's get started and let the show begin. See you soon.
Don't put yourself down, time for a change. Believe in yourself, time to rearrange. Be your best friend, bring hope to your day. Lose your critic, get out of your way. Now it clicks, moments of clarity. Now I hear moments of clarity. Now I get it, moments of clarity. To yourself be kind, it will please your mind. Find your joy, trust in you. Put in the time, you'll see how you grow. Many kinds of love you get to define. Find self-love, you're so well alive. Now it clicks, moments of clarity. Now I hear moments of clarity. Now I get it, moments of clarity.
Hi, everyone, and welcome to Moments of Clarity with Tiffany. And we're just starting the show. Ready? Hi, welcome to Moments of Clarity with Tiffany Warner. My name is Tiffany Warner. I'm a licensed mental health counselor, and I'm your host. And today we're going to be talking about intrusive thoughts that come with obsessive compulsive disorder. A lot of people think OCD is just cleanliness or perfectionism or whatever it is, and it's misunderstood often. And so before I start and introduce my guest, I want to say hi to Ed.
Hey, happy Friday.
Happy Friday. That was a pretty close call. We just started.
Yeah, I was beginning to wonder. I was starting to pull out the long intro.
Excuse me. Yeah. It was like just in time. I had to do my little introduction, but yeah, a little bit of a late start today. Just feeling a little draggy from the
Blame it
vaccine.
on the weather. Blame it on the weather.
I blame it on the vaccination, on the booster shot.
Well, you can't because you've been vaccinated and you've been boosted.
Yeah, I know. It still was kind of the same for everyone. I was pretty much okay yesterday, just tired. But my husband felt like he got hit by a bus, pretty much, from the third. So I think it affects everyone differently. But
True.
or it could be because I work like 12 hours a day and stuff like that. I don't know. Speaking of overworking, anxiety, you remember Kirk Patrick Miller, right?
You bet.
Good to see you, Ed.
How you too?
But speaking of overworking, and Ed, chime in whenever you want. And
You bet.
And everyone, you can call us at 866-826-1340, 866-826-1340, and we'll be happy to answer any questions or any feedback that you might have, as well as and situations that you might be going through. And when you do call in, please say hi to Ed. So my guest today is Kirk Patrick Miller. He's a friend of mine. He used to co-host Beyond Clarity with me as well. And he's an award-winning nominated author, but multi-times award-winning nominated author and violinist. suffering with bipolar 1, ADHD, OCD, generalized anxiety. And I think you're missing some on that bio, Kirk.
There's a lot there. My
There's
goodness.
a lot
So,
that maybe that left out. No. Um, as do I. That's okay. He refused to give in to the diagnosis he was labeled with, and becoming the first medically documented case of full remission from bipolar due to his treatment method that he was asked to write his memoir, Chaos to Cured, which we'll talk about in a little bit. But 10 years after writing his memoir, he stands as a testament to hope and perseverance, that there's hope out there. And he does so much for mental health that I want to introduce Kirk Patrick Miller.
hi, thanks. It's an honor to be here. And
I just love having you on the show.
yeah, well, especially with a topic like OCD, there's a lot of misunderstandings about it. And I think all of the mental health, obstacles that we all face, it's better when we're able to talk about it and be open about it. It just makes it easier to understand for those who, whether they're family members or friends or loved ones that are kind of dealing with it. Just understanding a little bit more about it can help a lot.
Mhm.
So
there's a lot of things that people don't understand about obsessive compulsive disorder. Let's give some shout outs to some people that are here, like Abby and Kadia. Good morning, y'all. Always happy to see Kirk here. I think you're one of her favorite guests, kind of like with
it's good to see.
There's Joe joining us today. Thanks for joining us. Invite your friends to watch the show. And he's on LinkedIn. And I think Abby was on YouTube. Comments or questions, 866-826-1340. 866-826-1340. And then we got Jason from India. Kirk, the blue shirt is looking awesome.
Oh, I like that. There we go. I'll take it. Figured I'd change.
From the UK. I live from the UK. Love your shows, Tiffany Warner. So yeah, India, UK, Washington.
So you're all over.
I love it. And just as much respect to you, Kirk, on LinkedIn.
Oh, he's a good man.
Anyway,
what's actually, just out of curiosity, what's one of the first things I know, because the work that you do, when you have somebody that comes and they think they have OCD, what's one of the most common things that they think or that makes them come seek help that you've seen?
I'm not sure if many of my clients come seek help because they think they have OCD. Most of the time it's misdiagnosed and they're having intrusive thoughts, and they don't know why they're having these odd feelings of fear of why am I thinking this. So I had this one client, I can tell you that she was like looking at children in a weird way. And she's like, I'm not a pedophile. Like, I'm not going to do anything about it. But why am I looking at children weird? I don't trust myself in a grocery store, at a library, at a playground. And she would literally cry. Why am I looking at this? And then she had a dog, and she would if the dog was laying on its back, she would cover it up so that the dog's genitals wouldn't be showing. And she's like, why am I thinking this way? Why am I thinking this way? So I was like assessing kind of like, was it bipolar or OCD? It's, obviously obsessive compulsive. And then she goes to this treatment disorder place. I'm not going to say where. And they start indulging her with pornography of children, like to exposure therapy. She came back to me even more messed up. But exposure therapy helps, but I think that was a little extreme.
Yeah, well, especially on thoughts. The intrusive thoughts is something that a lot of people don't understand with OCD. A lot of people just think, it's, staying clean or being scared of bugs. And the intrusive thoughts, what you just brought up is a really, really important part.
The part. So with obsessive compulsive disorder, with a lot of my clients that don't realize it, they think it's anxiety. So they're like fear of touching a gas pump without gloves.
Yeah.
Fear of the gas pump blowing up. Fear of dying. Fear of the unknown. But in an extreme way, not just the what if world, not if just the should haves and anxiety that a lot of people just have. Intrusive thinking would be like, if I don't turn on the lights in this specific order, something bad will happen.
Yeah.
If
Well,
I
they're
don't shut my
intense.
doors 3 times in a row, something bad would happen. If I have repetitious patterns of behavior that if I don't do it in a certain order, like open a cabinet, then a fridge, then a drawer, then get something to eat, something bad would happen. That kind of stuff.
Yeah, it's actually very time consuming too.
Yes,
And
it
that
is. That's the one
um
thing. That's one thing that is really um, difficult for a lot of people is that it takes them much longer to get ready because or to get out of the house or anything like that because they're doing all these repetitive thinking and so they have to go in and double check everything and turn on the lights 3 or 4 times. um so I've had traits of it back in the day
mhm.
where but it's like oh it's triggered because I have anxiety that runs in my family. So anxiety is a learned behavior, and if we don't pay attention to it, it can build into phobias and things like that.
Yeah.
And so one time I was leaving my house and the garage door had a sensory thing and there was a shoe there. So it popped back up and I saw that when I got home, the garage door was left open the whole day. So then I picked up this bad pattern where I'm just sitting there waiting for the garage door to close and sitting there waiting to make sure it doesn't go back up. Sometimes if I didn't pay attention long enough, I drove back to the house, like, stuff like that. That would be a symptom of an intrusive thought.
That's
But
actually a common one too. That's something that I deal with every time I'm leaving because I'm worried about, oh, did I leave this plugged in? Did I have and even as I'll pull away, so even after watching the garage door close, if I'm driving away, all day long, I'm wondering if I actually saw it close.
right,
So those
I have
thoughts will
coping
keep
skills
coming.
to go with that too.
Yeah. Well, and like you mentioned, I really think it's important to, I love what you said, how anxiety, there's so much anxiety along with it that I know when I first went, they immediately picked up on the anxiety. The OCD, they didn't pick up on right away. That kind of came a little bit later as I developed more, you know, and it was there when I was little too. So even when we were driving, I always remember we would drive down from the mountains to, like, say, go Christmas shopping. And it was about an hour drive. But every time I saw a mile marker come by, I would grit my teeth and I'd count.
Mm.
Just a weird thing to do. And I never even noticed that something was strange about that. So little tiny, of course, the obsessive thoughts kind of get stuck in your head, and then that kind of leads to compulsions to help alleviate that. And those, like, one thing that was kind of interesting is I really had not ever started, I've always liked threes and symmetry, but with our, like, three emojis that you finally got me at, I'm getting better at only doing one.
You can't
So,
just skim off of that. For the callers, Kirk and I have been friends for years, like 6 years. And so we're gonna probably banter a little bit because I tease him on some stuff, and he can't just slide by that one. But we have a caller. We have caller Dr. Denise, and welcome to Moments of Clarity, Dr. Denise.
Hi. So first of all, Tiffany, thank you for all that you're doing in the universe and your show and reducing stigma. And Kirk, I know you very well. I want to just jump right in, though, to everything that you're both talking about. I think, Kirk, it's ironic that I just heard what Kirk said about anxiety. I wanted to call in and say, as a doctor and adult and child integrative psychiatrist, what I find is most people present with their generalized anxiety, and it doesn't or therapist, or even if you're ready to talk to your therapist, sometimes the OCD stuff, the really intense OCD stuff, like Tiffany, when you started the show about some of the porn stuff, I find that the gateway open discussion is usually generalized anxiety. And then as you're building the trust, someone feels less shame, and you're starting to ask about different ego dystonic, intrusive thoughts, compulsions. I find that once you break down that barrier of the shame and there's the therapeutic alliance, that's where all the topics get discussed. When you create this space where nothing that you could say would shock your therapist or you wouldn't feel ashamed. I don't know if you guys can both relate to that in your own unique ways.
Absolutely. I mean, people don't want to come in and say I'm oddly all of a sudden attracted to children, and
It's
not
scary.
think that they're going to be put away. She was crying and becoming over, like not over, but very biblical too, trying to heal herself for a while and wondering why this was happening to her. But with certain treatment and group, and then not only that, awareness as well, and focusing on the symptoms and doing exposure therapy, but not flooding her with it. Not
Yeah, I have a really precise example that was a win. When you said about that one client that went away, and maybe it was just the timing that the flooding was almost just too much. I had a situation, and it's a great story. Really quickly, someone came in with anxiety, some ADD, and then this is probably like 15 or 20, almost 15 years ago. Her intrusive thought was that every time she went over, those speed bumps that we go over at the bank or to slow us down in a parking lot, every time she went over one of those speed bumps, she thought that she'd actually killed someone. So much so to the point where she'd be watching all the news stations, and it was just in her mind. And so I built therapeutic trust with her. She did want to get in her car with me and go over speed bumps, but I waited until she was time ready.
Right,
And
you gotta wait for the right time.
Yeah, and also humor. I find that when we really connect, like if she like almost like went into the suffering of the OCD. We had the right cognitive behavioral therapy, the right med plan, but we used humor. And then she was able to, even with her friends, joke about it, like name it to claim it. And then all of a sudden that was not an issue. Not all of a sudden. It took a lot of time and hard work. But I just wanted to give an example of just the timing, the trust, and everything about that it takes to kind of have your best day when you're having any sort of intrusive thought, anxiety, or OCD.
Or you could just say, 50 points. No, I'm just kidding.
Yeah, no, actually, it's so important that being able, because it is really kind of terrifying to come in and tell somebody that you have what is viewed as, like, I viewed my own like obsessions as really kind of, well, I was shy and I felt shame for it. And so being able to get into a place where you really feel trust, and then also the humor is really helpful. So now, I'm at the point with, my family and friends where, sometimes I'll do certain things like fold a napkin a whole bunch of times at a restaurant, and have everything at perfect angles. And, they'll joke around, and it makes me feel at ease. So that humor, once you feel a little bit more open to share, is really beneficial. So anyone that's listening, that's what you want from your therapist. Anytime you go seek some help, that's exactly what you want. Because once you establish a repertoire with someone and you feel really comfortable and safe and you don't feel shameful for things you can't really necessarily control, you're going to work towards controlling.
Sometimes the humor actually embarrasses us enough to get past our intrusive thought too.
It breaks up the OCD, like the whole cycle. Sometimes that just laugh. Yeah.
So back in high school, my car got broken into. So I know I have OCD traits. I'm not sure I have an actual disorder, but my whole life I've had where anxiety leads into compulsions, some things. But more so, my car got broken into, and it was back in the day before we had the automatic beeping locks or whatever. Not to age myself, but you had to lock. And so it was broken into in high school. And so we would go to the mall, my high school friends and I, and I would be in a movie theater or shopping or at a restaurant, and all of a sudden my mind would just be like fixated. Did I lock my car? Did I lock my car? And I'm like, guys, I'll be right back. And they're like, so eventually they started coming with me, and then it turned into, Tiffany, lock your doors, check all 4 of them. We're not coming back with you again, because we would interrupt to all the way back to the car to see if it was locked. And then it kind of became funny. And like, even if I was even wondering if I locked the car, they're like, we're not going back. You're not going back. And they forced me to make myself uncomfortable, where now I don't care. It does beep 3 times, though. I gotta be real when it's locked. It's like, but I've evolved from having to go all the way back. But I just don't keep anything valuable in my car anymore.
I want to honor that this is like the 2 of you, but I want to just tag off what you just said about OCD traits. I think the linear language, sometimes we have the full-blown disorder, or sometimes we just embrace our habits. And my son was really cute. He's like, Mom, I know you cannot watch this movie with me unless you find your car keys. I know you're OCD. You're going to be thinking about it the whole time. So my son, even though I have more like OCPD or something a little bit, he's like, "Now, Mom, you have to enjoy the show, so I'll help you find your keys." So it's like sweet too.
Aw.
What's the deal with the car keys, Dr. Denise?
Well, sometimes I have my own. I feel like my own. I call it neurostyle. Like I have mild. I have like the perfect amount of like ADHD traits, a little hypomania, a little OCD, but I'm not on any meds. I just like if I were to describe myself clinically, just like, but just this is who I am, right? So what's with the car keys is for some reason I usually put them in this one little spot, but it was gone. And then my son, he and I are so tuned into each other. We can all do this, everyone. When we love each other, we can just share what our vulnerabilities are and make it more fun to do life and get through the tough moments. And we were going to watch this like show that was maybe a little cutting edge. He's like, "I can't believe you're going to watch this cartoon with me." I'm like, "Oh yeah." He's like, "But Mom, I want you to really focus on it." And he'll tap my cheek sometimes. He's like, "No, Mom, you didn't know your car keys, so you're not focused."
We're talking about a 10 or 12-year-old, right?
He's smart.
He's
That's
almost
fast.
13. He's super evolved.
He's 12, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Wow. Just
I know,
to be
right?
able to pick up on that, because I had a hard time picking up on some of those things on my own. So having somebody else that was there to kind of tell me and say, "Hey, by the way, you're going to enjoy this movie more," because actually that's a common thing that I struggled with, is that I wouldn't be able to actually let go or enjoy anything until certain things were done. And there's like an ordered sheet of, and honestly, that actually does throw me off still. If I have a plan and something gets in the way of that plan or interrupts it, like you'd mentioned, like the keys weren't in the same spot. If I walk in the house and I'm expecting something to be a certain way and it's different, it really throws me off. I'm getting better about coping with it, but it's definitely a continued challenge. And I think breathing, that has been one of the biggest things for me, is trying to understand that wherever I'm at right at that moment, it's okay. It's supposed to be that way.
So
And
we're
that's
going to pause there before we get into the coping skills, because it's time for our
Break?
break. Times two. We've been told twice. So.
Oh, Dr. Denise, thank you for
so much
calling.
for calling
Thanks for
in.
having me.
Thank you so much. It's time for our break, and we're going to let you go for now. Looking forward to talking to you again soon. And thanks for calling in. And she gets a first-time caller, by the way. And we're going to take our break, and we'll be both back with Moments of Clarity in just a moment. Please stay tuned.
You're listening to Moments of Clarity with Tiffany Werner. We welcome your input at 866-826-1340. Tiffany will be right back after this.
This is the Tan Talk Radio Network.
Hello, my name is Lucy Lopes, and I'm a real estate agent that supports ending the stigma on mental health with Moments of Clarity with Tiffany. I am also passionate about helping you buy or sell your home. With times being so difficult, I'm here to help. Contact me at lucylopes.com. That's LUCYLOPES.com. Let me assist you through this pandemic and know that you are not alone.
If you're a show host, gamer, live streamer, podcast host, or radio show host that would like your message to get out and reach up to 30 platforms, then there's an affordable way to do that. It's called Restream. Restream makes it easy to broadcast professional live videos from your browser to multiple social platforms at once. Start your live show with guests, brand it with logos and overlays, and create an interactive experience for your audience. Learn more at Restream.io and mention Moments of Clarity for special offers.
Hi, this is Tiffany Werner, your host of Moments of Clarity. Living with a mental health disorder is not easy. If you or someone you know are struggling with this, please know it's so important to seek treatment, and I'm here to help. Please visit the website at momentsofclaritywithtiffany.com to view blog posts and resources on this site to help educate and inspire you to take action, because there's no shame in seeking help for mental health. While you're there, please take a few seconds to sign up for my email list. You'll get some extremely valuable educational and entertaining content that can be sent right to your inbox each week. Plus, you'll also get instant and free access to my guide on managing your anxiety. You can also follow me on Twitter at MOC with Tiffany and at Facebook at Tiffany Warner. And once again, the website is momentsofclaritywithtiffany.com. Thank you so much for your support and for listening to your show, because change can only come when we stand together as one.
Are you looking for a great book? If you like to root for the underdog, Joe Potosi's book is a book for you. A real American Odyssey that will grab your attention with its fast-moving narrative. You won't be able to put this masterpiece down. When the Dust Settled by Joe Potosi. Go to Amazon, Barnes & Noble, or Zulin Press.
This is the Tan Talk Radio Network.
We are back to Moments of Clarity with Tiffany Warner. To join in the discussion, call 866-826-1340. Now, here's Tiffany Warner.
Hello, and thanks for tuning in. And if you're just now joining us, this is Moments of Clarity with Tiffany. My name is Tiffany Warner. I'm a licensed mental health counselor and your host. And today we are discussing what obsessive compulsive disorder is, acronym OCD, and what it isn't. And it's a diagnosis that's often misunderstood, and most of the time misunderstood. People have anxiety or sometimes perfectionism from need for control, from childhood abuse to anything where they want their room or the house clean or whatever. That's not. So you might hear people say you're OCD because your desk is always clean at work or whatever like that. But that's not quite that. Someone could just be orderly and like it clean. That does not mean obsessive compulsive disorder, unless their desk is clean because they think that someone will die if they don't have it specifically in some certain order. Well, as we're explaining this, I want to bring back my guest, Kirk Patrick Miller, who's diagnosed with this as well, and here to explain it with me on any of those things. And as well as you may leave comments. We're on YouTube at mocwithtiffany.com. I just look up Moments of Clarity with Tiffany on YouTube. LinkedIn is Tiffany Warner. Facebook at MOC with Tiffany. Twitter. So you can watch us live, or if you're tuning in on any of the podcasts or anything like that, feel free to call in and ask questions. 866-826-1340. 866-826-1340. And so, Kirk, back to what we were getting at with coping skills. And a lot of people, before I was trying to explain what things of symptoms, some common symptoms, they gradually happen and then vary throughout life. Like most anxiety-driven disorders can be unlearned, but can progress if we don't find coping skills. And a lot of times the coping skills is forcing ourselves to be uncomfortable, saying, today I'm not going to turn on the lights 3 times and see what happens. And a lot of my clients do it. One of my most recent ones had emetophobia, and that's the fear of throwing up. And so she's much better now. But I was forcing her to, give herself a shot because she's a little girl and she deserves to be happy. But I was afraid to leave the house or drive or eat certain foods because she thought she was going to throw up. Oddly enough, she hadn't thrown up in 6 years. And it was from in 3rd grade, and nothing really bad happened. And it was watermelon, so it was kind of painless. And she can eat watermelon still, but when she feels anxious, she feels like she's going to throw up, and she's fearful of that. Yeah. So as she did certain things that made her uncomfortable and didn't throw up, I had her go, I did it. And she got sick of saying, I did it. So I'm like, well, now she's ready to go back to school and she doesn't have those fears anymore. And I was like, just talking to her yesterday, and I was like, so what do you say? She's like, I did it. I'm like, she's so sick of me telling her, I did it. And then she gets a bell, that kind of thing.
Oh.
One of my clients with obsessive compulsive thoughts and traits was afraid that she was afraid to eat food that wasn't in a package because she was afraid somebody would be drugging her. Yeah. And I'm like, well, she's in college. I'm like, I wouldn't eat brownies or cookies left at your door.
Yes.
Be like that. But why would someone waste their drugs on your food in a restaurant? Like, she's like, makes sense.
That's something I can relate to. Like, I really like, food that I can see through. So I don't like clam chowder type soups, anything that's not that's opaque. Not for the same fears that probably she goes through, but I know one of the things, like what you just mentioned, like having her say, you know, I did it. Being able to break up that, I guess the bombarding thoughts that you have, because when I'm in a moment where things aren't quite the way I am used to them being, or I like them to be, then those obsessions start rolling. Mm-hmm. And they get bigger and they get louder in your head. So being able to find something that can kind of pull you out for even a second to slow it down helps at least myself become a little bit more aware of what I'm thinking, and that, you know, it's okay. The world's not going to end. So I found any time that I can kind of break, yeah. So that, I love that. Just having a mantra. For me, I often am not as good about taking my own advice as I am about giving it.
Here we go.
Yeah.
So, yep. So for you guys that don't know Kirk, I know him pretty well. And every post that he makes on Twitter or social media or text message has to have 3 emojis. Like the little emoji cons, like a heart or whatever.
You usually need 3 of the same.
3 in the row, or 1 and then a different one, but the other last one has to match the first one, and it has to be 3. So on purpose, I mess with them and I put 4, or I put them out of order, or even like I double dog dare you, end this text with 2, and then I'll get a text a little bit later with the 3rd one.
You can only handle it for so long, but
then you found this star that has 3 in it. Which I got to tell you, I've been meaning to. Sometimes you'll put 1 emoji with the 3 stars, which actually like equals 4.
Yes. So I'm getting a little better. And like you had mentioned before, discomfort, you can't grow without that. And so
that happened when you just put 2.
Yes.
For me bragging on you a little bit, but that's fine.
My heart pounds, and it's such a silly thing. The strength part
your mom doing it. It's
yes.
Like, I can't help it. I'm like, don't spread it to your mom.
Well, actually spreading it, that's one of the things that was so interesting, is I hadn't done that. And I think if I go back on my Twitter, I can see like the exact point at when I started doing that. And it was back, I think, in like probably before 2009. And I had met somebody and they sent me a text, and I remember the individual, and he had like 3 little birds at the bottom. And it was one of the first times I'd ever seen that. And I copied it one time, and that one time kind of set off a whole, well, as you can tell, it's been hard to unlearn it now.
That's a Bob Marley song.
Which one?
Don't worry about a thing.
Oh, yeah. No, I love that.
On my doorstep, so whatever. I'm not gonna say that, but
you're doing great.
Little birds, but yours turned into the pink daisies, like birds.
I have different ones. Yeah, I had like a daisy, and I kind of went through and I kept trying to change them so I could get rid of it, but it always ended up being 3. And even now, sometimes if I send a text to somebody and I send 1, I've been trying to hold off for as long as I can. I think I lasted like 3 or 4 minutes one day, which is pretty good. So I'm slowly getting longer and trying to wait. One thing that has helped too is I have for both ADHD and OCD, these things called specs, and they're all magnets, but they're kind of like small beaded magnets. And so I can grab them and I can kind of like a worry stone. But just even having a textural thing that I can like play with every once in a while helps alleviate some of the anxiety. And honestly, that's one of those things. I have learned more obsessions in some ways. So it feels like when I get rid of one, there's other ones that can come back, which is one reason why I feel like it's really important to tell anybody that's dealing with something like this, or intrusive thoughts and compulsions, seek some help. Because if I hadn't had great help from a therapist, mental health counselor, you can go just find somebody that's qualified, because then they can give you some guidance on how to kind of, get rid of some without adding more.
Right.
So
exactly. And So a Facebook user left a comment. I'm glad that you brought that up because I was just moving to this, and it said, "I don't have good experiences talking with therapists, so now I avoid them if possible." And that makes me sad because I got to tell you, not everyone's good at their job, and at like any job, there's some bad doctors out there, bad car mechanics, bad therapists, bad teachers. I went through 8 or 9 before I found the one that I could really relate to. And like, please don't stop seeking help because there's one that you will connect with. Not all therapists are the same. I swear, I don't even know anyone that's like me. So, I ring a bell in therapy. That's just a flinch from the radio show, but they end up like, yeah, I got a bell today. So it would just blend into my therapy sessions. But please don't give up. I've had some bad experiences talking with therapists as well. Just not everyone's good at their job. So you find someone that is and that you relate to, but don't give up.
That you feel safe with.
That you can tell anything to.
What I know, there's
sorry that you've had bad experiences with some therapists, but there's good therapists out there that can really help.
Absolutely.
Joe Potosi on LinkedIn says, "I know today that there's no shame in asking for help, but medicated and meeting with a therapist, or being medicated and meeting with a therapist. As a young man, I was too ignorant or proud."
That's pretty common. I felt
more the stigma too. As a young man, back in the day, that's why it took me a while to start to get to help because it wasn't as common as it is now or talked about. So like when I first started this radio show 7 years ago, no one wanted to be on as a guest because they're like, I don't want people looking at me weird, my business. And now people are like, I'm booked up through January. It's come a long way. And unfortunately, the pandemic has brought it up. Where people that suffer with anxiety and obsessive compulsive disorder in certain support groups are like, now people know how we feel, like with contamination, fear of contamination, especially that one.
It was definitely intense.
You wore gloves at the gas pumps before.
Yeah.
I'm probably now people don't look. Now they don't look at me weird, but
there was a good question here where it says, how do you cope with OCD, or should you suppress it? For me, I would say, just right off the bat, anytime you use the word suppress, that's not something that's, to me, it's kind of like sweeping dirt underneath a rug.
Right.
And so it's still there. And you're hiding it for short term, but it's going to cause
a break on time. But we're going to come up with some great coping skills because I've got some great ones too.
Awesome.
When we come back after this break. I'm sorry to interrupt you, Kirk, but
no, that was perfect.
We've got some great coping skills for overcoming anxiety and intrusive thoughts. When we return with Moments of Clarity with Tiffany, please stay tuned.
We will return to Moments of Clarity with Tiffany Warner after these messages.
This is the Tan Talk Radio Network.
If you are like most people, you worry with the financial challenges you face today. How do you protect your family from financial ruin? How will you reduce your liabilities and get out of debt sooner? And how can you deal effectively with the constant changes in your job, your career, and your business? Overcoming your financial challenges is like building a house. You must build from the ground up. You must learn how to make more money, save more money, grow your money, and protect your money. Forever Forward Financial specializes in teaching you these 4 basic money skills so you can achieve your dreams and end your worry. Call us today and schedule your complimentary, no-obligation meeting to discuss your needs and concerns. Call Scott Bigley at 727-422-7761.
Are you having trouble staying sober after you've completed rehab and need a positive environment to help you continue sobriety? At Real Recovery Sober Living, we strive in both community and environment for men in early sobriety to help support you while in early recovery. For only $750 a month, we cover everything you need when it comes to a safe, clean, and accountable environment necessary for success in sobriety. Check out our website at realrecoveryfl.com. That's realrecoveryfl.com. We have 6 locations in Tampa, St. Petersburg, Clearwater, Brandon, North Tampa, and Bradenton, because everyone deserves a quality, sober living.
Hi, this is Tiffany Warner, your host of Moments of Clarity. Living with a mental health disorder is not easy. If you or someone you know are struggling with this, please know it's so important to seek treatment, and I'm here to help. Please visit the website at momentsofclaritywithtiffany.com to view blog posts and resources on this site to help educate and inspire you to take action, because there's no shame in seeking help for mental health. While you're there, please take a few seconds to sign up for my email list. You'll get some extremely valuable educational and entertaining content that can be sent right to your inbox each week. Plus, you'll also get instant and free access to my guide on managing your anxiety. You can also follow me on Twitter at MOC with Tiffany and at Facebook at Tiffany Warner. And once again, the website is momentsofclaritywithtiffany.com. Thank you so much for your support and for listening to your show, because change can only come when we stand together as one. Hi, this is Tiffany Warner, your host of Moments of Clarity. I'd like to give a shout out to musician songwriter Don Lawson, who wrote, produced, and performed all the vocals and instruments on my Moments of Clarity theme song. Don gained his inspiration as a mental health counselor himself. He's always looking for artists to record his songs, and you can hear more of Don's music at reverbnation.com/Don Lawson. You can also check him out on Twitter at Don Lawson Music. Thank you so much, Don, for your contribution to Moments of Clarity and ending the stigma on mental health. It's awesome.
This is the Tan Talk Radio Network.
Now back to Moments of Clarity with Tiffany Warner, licensed mental health counselor. To engage in the conversation, call 866-826-1340. Here's Tiffany.
Hi, and welcome back to Moments of Clarity with Tiffany. My name is Tiffany Warner. I'm a licensed mental health counselor and your host. And we are talking about coping with intrusive thoughts and the obsessive compulsive disorder. Other people call it OCD, and often are misunderstood of what it actually is. And my guest today is a good friend of mine, longtime friend. So we banter a little bit. So I mean no harm. And known him for years, and he used to co-host Beyond Clarity with me. He's an award-winning author and so much. And we pretty much talk daily, or at least weekly anyway. So welcome back, Kirk Patrick Miller.
Oh, it's always good to be here. And I really always appreciate, because, you have helped tremendously on a lot of different things. A lot of things that I'm not even aware of. That's where, a therapist and, family and friends, if they notice something, a lot of times, it's something that I was doing unconsciously. And each time those are brought to my attention, it helps me deal with it. So I would say, one of the best coping skills that I can possibly suggest is give yourself grace. Don't be upset that you're unique or you have something that you are dealing with. Even if it's something you're not pleased with or you're working on it, just being aware of it puts you in a place that, I wasn't for a long time. So you're ahead of the game if you're even aware of it.
Awareness is key, and medication does help.
Yes.
I do have some things I work with my clients on a little bit basis. So there's some clients that have obsessive compulsive thoughts, like right before bed. Did I lock the doors 3 times? Did I turn off the oven? Did I check this or whatever? But they had already, then they lay down and they're like, wait, did I do that? And then they get back up, and then they lay back down, and then they get back up. So what I have them do is write all of their rituals, we call them, down on a white erase board, but with a Sharpie, not a dry erase marker.
Yeah.
Okay, so I locked the front door with a box and a little check mark, where you could put a check mark with a dry erase marker that you can erase the answers. And I closed the back door. I turned off the lights 3 times. I did this, and whatever the rituals are. Everything's facing east. I don't know, all of that.
Yeah.
And then, so they don't have to go through it 5 or 6 times, where it's very time consuming. They have this white erase board of the rituals. And let's say locking the front door is one of them. To say it out loud to someone else. Hey, to their spouse or someone, or on the phone or whatever, or just say it out loud. I'm locking the front door, and then with the white dry erase marker, make sure it's clean because the Sharpie won't erase. They mark it off, right? And then they go on to the next one, the next one, the next one. By saying it out loud, auditorily, we're not just thinking it and wondering if it's an automatic thought. Did I do that? Where a lot of people with intrusive thoughts are on autopilot, whatever, and then they don't remember if they did it or not. And then, oh gosh, the world's going to end if they don't, right? In their head. And saying it out loud helps validate, telling someone else. So if you have your husband or wife or whatever, hey, I'm locking the front door and I'm checking it off. And then it goes through all of them. And you have to trust yourself, have the white erase board next to your nightstand, that all of those are checked off and that you just completed it that day. Put the date on it even. And eventually those will subside and you don't have to get out of bed 3 times. Not only that, then I challenge them to take one off their list. And
Actually, great. I like that. Actually, sleep
go to
is
bed and see if that one, I mean, lock your front door, yeah, but if turning off the lights 3 times or whatever, make it 1, change it to 1 time and see if the world ended. The world didn't end. The light's still off. You don't have to do it 3 times. In fact, it's probably wasting electricity. But to check that off, and challenge, and it's helped a lot of people be conscious of at least that kind of thing. To challenge, if you have to, if like one of my clients have to pump the soap 3 times, so I'm challenging to pump it once or twice, or 4 times. I don't know, just not 3. But you're wasting soap.
Cycle, yeah.
So she's like, okay, and I'm like, did anything bad happen? No. I'm like, just wash her hands, but at the same time, like her hands were starting to crack, because of overwashing them.
Yeah.
And so to make ourselves a little uncomfortable, but proving to ourselves that just because the volume's not on a specific number or whatever, it's not going to end the world. I do like having the gas pump at an even number, just so that I know that if my credit card was taken or whatever, I know that I would end it on an even number, which is really hard to do. It's almost like a skill, like a video game.
Yeah. Oh yeah. It moves so fast nowadays too. Oh my goodness. One of the things that you just mentioned too, that anytime you can kind of, I guess, be aware of and break up that pattern, it's super helpful, as we kind of mentioned before. And then you also mentioned medication. And I just wanted to tell people that are out there, there's nothing wrong with utilizing medication. A lot of times people feel shame from using medication to help them actually overcome. I don't think I would have been able to do a lot. I don't want to say I couldn't have done it without medication. I did find that medication was extremely helpful because some of these things get in the way of just daily functioning. And so even having some help from medication to get you past some of those points. And then, of course, you can always work with your doctor to lower medication. You always want to get to the lowest, but of also efficient and effective dose. But there's nothing wrong with being on it. And I love the whiteboard idea because sleep was a big issue for me. And still to this day, I'll wake up and sometimes go, oh, did I do this and this and this and this? And the list is so long. And once I do wake up,
you might need a bigger whiteboard.
Yep, I'm going to get one. That's a great suggestion. I love that.
It helps. I mean, because, I didn't have to go double check and everything, but my husband did. And he was like, oh, I'm already in bed. I'm like, seriously, please. And of course I already did it. Like, go check the oven. Go check this. He's like sick of getting up. But the whiteboard. And then because it's so time consuming and, you're almost asleep. And then it all of a sudden it comes to your mind. Wait, did I? It's like, there's an intrusive thought. There was another one. Like I'm on medication. I'm on Lexapro just for anxiety. It started since the pandemic. But I saw someone smoking near a gas pump, like while we were there. We have 5 minutes. We have to wrap up. Which I think is the dumbest thing to do, by the way. He was pumping gas with a cigarette in his mouth. And I started having these invasive thoughts, thinking, we're going to blow up. We're going to blow up. But like Matt, my husband, like, move the car. Like, we're going to blow up. And he's like, we're not going to blow up. Like, I'm like, just move it. And so then I was like, why am I thinking these things? Like, I'm getting triggered by weird stuff. And I started realizing that the pandemic was getting to me, like anxiety and everything. I was going overboard. And so I called my doctor. So I don't want to live like that. Why live with intrusive thoughts?
Yeah.
When you don't have to.
Absolutely.
So it's time to wrap up, Kirk. And I wanted to promote that you can find Kirk basically on Twitter, Clubhouse, Instagram at Chaos2Cured. 2 is the number 2. His book, Chaos to Cured, award nominated, is a very good read. And his website is www.chaos2cured. So it's chaos and then the number 2 cured.com. And he's on LinkedIn, Kirk Patrick Miller, and on Facebook on Kirk Patrick Miller as well to follow him so that he can give you 3 emojis. So my takeaway from this, from you, my challenge for you this week and every time, I want you to go down to 2 emojis. And when we have our follow-up show, because I love having you on, you're like one of my repeat guests, we're going to tell everyone about your progress.
Okay. I'll take the
challenge. Down to 1 emoji. In the back, while we're on commercial break, you guys, he's doing the private chat, and he had to do 3 exclamation marks after everything. Not 1 exclamation mark. 3.
No emojis, but
in writing, you're doing this because there's no emojis on this private chat. During commercials, so it's getting extreme, and it's contagious to your mom. And I'm gonna help you both.
Okay.
The world will not end if you use 1 emoji.
Oh, and by the way, I did want to just say really quickly
in your posts.
You mentioned trusting your family member. That's a good thing. If you can talk to them, that it's a big difference. So find somebody that loves you for who you are, and
follow Kirk on Twitter at Chaos to Cured, and he's gonna say, I used 1 emoji today. EmojiCon or whatever it's called.
Yeah, I promise. I'll do it.
It's a challenge. It's the challenge to take away, because the world will not end if you don't share a flower or star in an order.
Even right now, my body's getting hot thinking of just 1. So it gives you an idea.
It's gonna be hard for you. It's real to him, but I'm just gonna do the challenge. Anyway, Kirk, it's always been a pleasure. It's always a pleasure to have you on Moments of Clarity with Tiffany, and everyone, all the friends supporting the show, Ed, team, and everyone that's helping end the stigma on mental health. And I appreciate so much more to go through and more to overcome, but change can only come when we stand together as one. Please be kind to yourself and a stranger. You never know what they're going through. And have a beautiful weekend. Take care.
Now it clicks, moments of clarity. Don't put yourself down, time for a change. Believe in yourself, time to rearrange. Be your best friend, bring hope to your day. Lose your critic, get out of your way. Now it clicks, moments of clarity. Now I hear moments of clarity. Now I get it, moments of clarity. To yourself be kind, it will please your mind. Find your joy, trust in you. Put in the time, you'll see how you grow. Many kinds of love you get to define. Find self-love, your soul will align.